As you know, in the boarding school where the nun gets rid of children, there is a second nun. Now this nun arrives with the van and changes the linen, bringing new nun clothes. Her story is very simple. She was born in a small country house in the middle of green fields. Her name is Annie. Her parents were very religious and they taught her to attend church. After a few years, she decided to become a nun and live in chastity all her life. One evening, after a few years in the convent, she received a letter. She was commissioned with constantly bringing new clothes in an old boarding school in the woods. The thing terrified her. The letter had been written for her by the nun. Annie didn't know who was to send this letter. Nobody knew. The most frightening thing was that the letter was dirty with red, maybe blood, and underneath it was drawn an inverted cross. Behind the letter, a map was drawn to reach the boarding school. She was afraid to go there, but the reward was so high, and so, because she needed money, she accepted the assignment. She would have started the next night. The next day after sunset, Annie prepared the clothes in a van and left for the mysterious boarding school. She followed a road that led into the woods. It was completely dark and Annie was afraid of getting lost. After 15 minutes, Annie saw street lamps appear in the distance. After a couple of minutes, she was in front of the boarding school. Annie shut off the engine and waited in silence. She got out of the van, and at that moment, the gate opened. With the van, she went inside the boarding school and stopped in front of an open garage. On the door was attached a piece of paper written to go up to the floor above. Annie was afraid now. She opened the door and began to climb the stairs. One thing terrified her. She began to hear children crying. It was as if the sound came from inside the walls. Continuing to climb the stairs, she saw the nun. She was standing at the stairs, staring at her with evil eyes. Annie screamed and stuttered. She said, "I brought the new clothes you asked for." The nun smiled and remained silent, motioned for Annie to follow her into a room. Annie now noticed that she was holding a large hammer. Annie was going crazy. They entered a room where an upside-down cross hung above a fire. Annie remained completely still, with her heart beating very fast. That strange nun took the reward and gave it to Annie. Then, the nun said in a hoarse voice, "You should leave this house now," and made a macabre smile. Annie nodded and ran down the stairs to the garage, but the door was closed. She went even further down to the laundry. She tried to open the door, but it was closed. Suddenly, she turned and saw the nun hit her with the hammer. The mad nun dragged Annie into the laundry room and locked her inside. No one knows exactly what happens there. It's still unknown. But now we know that the laundry causes psychic effects to people. Annie now always has the same face. She doesn't talk and executes the nun's orders. She delivers new clothes every day, but we know something interesting. She's afraid of children. It is not well known why, but one thing is certain, that in the laundry, there is something terrible.